Hey! Hey there! Today I'm gonna be giving you guys my Yujin build. Yujin, to be honest, was one of the descendants that I was not interested at all. But with the 8-man raid coming, it might be worth it to look into supports. DPS buffs value greatly increases the bigger the party size is. And Yujin does have one of the better DPS buffs aside from his healing capabilities. First, let's talk about his mobbing. We will be using his allergy module, and what it does is that it converts his second ability into some sort of a plague that spreads to nearby enemies when triggered. This ability is triggered after a saturation or when the affected enemy is defeated. This means that this could chain to the entire map as long as there are mobs nearby. This already deals huge damage, and it's multiplied based on the number of affected enemies, because each has its own damage instance. We are using Arche Acceleration because this increases the projectile speed of the ability. For massive contents like Sigma's Sector, the quality of life you get from it is extremely good. You'll see what I mean in the showcase later, and you can play with the ability however you want. The range loss is only going to be 0.4 meters, and that's okay because the ability has spreading capabilities and you won't even notice the difference. You can use power increase instead of focus on non-attribute. It will deal higher damage, but it won't be that much, especially when your first and fourth ability power buff is up. Going focus on non-attribute allows you to spam your second ability, and this can be useful for massive contents that have separate spawning points. This will also account for misses. You have one free mod here. You can either use singular amplification, HP, mana, or whichever you want that fits your playstyle. Just don't replace Spear and Shield with singular amplification, because since we have higher power modifier already, the value of modifiers over power ratios are reduced. Hence, Spear and Shield deals the higher damage. For the weapon, it's going to be whichever weapon you want as long as the enemy dies quick from it. But I like using the Malevolent because of the quality of life it provides. Arche tuning and inversion can be adjusted depending on your setup. What's more important is the cooldown and skill power. Now you might be wondering why Slayer over Enlightened Mage. I mentioned a lot before that Enlightened Mage's DPS is lowered because of the downtime. Since it's buff, it will only be very good on Descendants that does setups and non-attribute skill spammers like Valpy, Jumping Ajax, and Luna, and sadly not on Yujin. It will be dealing more damage, yes, even when average, but his playstyle does not fit the stacking mechanic of the component. That's because you won't be using Yujin's second ability 3 times to get the buff before shooting. You're shooting right after you infected enemies with your second ability, but you can go with Enlightened Mage if you don't shoot. You only spam your second ability and infect multiple enemies, which also in turn reduces your DPS because you're waiting on duration. For his supporting build, this will be the best choice. The reasoning behind this is that you want to buff your allies' DPS with first and fourth ability. And yes, we are not using Duty and Sacrifice. The skill power increase here works similar to power increase, and giving 34.5% to 8 people and 57.5% power increase to an ally is insane, assuming Wall Crasher is gonna be dealt with abilities. Skill power increase has better value than the weapon attack it gives. Duty and Sacrifice remove this buff, and it's just an overall loss in value. You also need to build into your skill power because your healing is based from it. But the healing tick caps depending on your ally's max health. Because you're spamming your heals a lot, you will need some sort of mana utility. But if you have a Luna, then you can replace Maximize Conservation with Medical Support, or even Multi-Talented for more duration because you're using fusion abilities as well. We are also using fusion mods in Reactor because our healing will come from our second and fourth ability. For now, we don't have a use for this build yet, but if Wall Crasher is weak to abilities, if we need heals and debuff cleanse, Yujin might be a pick. The value just decreases if the composition is weapon-based. We don't need Passionate Sponsor, no need Divine Punishment. For weapon composition, we only need Analysis Master from special ammo type weapons. Because crit resist reduction is so valuable against high crit resist enemies, and a lot more valuable the more players you have. We will know for sure when Wall Crasher comes out. One more thing to note is, you won't receive the stimulant buff from your first ability if you break the tether. You both will receive the buffs when the duration ends. That's it for this video, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!
This is Hound Action to all personnel. Void storm is intensified. Conditions are unfavorable. Proceed with caution. Over.
This might tickle. Look, out of the way.
That's a specialized Vulcan aircraft. It can fly through void storms. Descendant, if you're gonna shoot it down, do it now. Hurry!
This might tickle. Take this. This might tickle. This might tickle. Out of the way.
I see a gap in the enemy's air defenses. We can provide air support.
Take this. Take this. This might tickle. Take this. This might tickle. Damn it. This might tickle.
Okay.
Out of the way. Take this.